What is going on, everybody? It's Ryan with Tundra 4x4.club, and today we're going to go over swapping out that front diff, rear diff, and transfer case fluids. So let's get into that right now. If this is your first time here, I'd like to say welcome. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Don't forget to subscribe down below, hit that bell icon, and if you like the content of this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. Let's jump outside. I'm sure if you're doing this for the first time, it might be a little intimidating, but it's really not that hard, and we're gonna go through it step by step.
All right, so what we have here, we got some shop towels followed by some 75W90 fully synthetic oil catch can here. You know, we have the replacement washers here, a 10mm hex bit socket that we're gonna need, 24mm socket. And you have your manual pump. Again, all these will be in the link in the description below. This is everything you're gonna need to do your differential fluid swap. One of the first things you wanna do is make sure your vehicle is flat and level. So we're gonna go ahead and take care of that right now. Okay, so the first thing that you're gonna wanna do with any diff fluid change is you wanna make sure that you check your the check plug and fill hole and make sure that you can loosen that first, because what you don't want to do is have a problem with this and then drain all your fluid out and now you have no way of refilling your diff. So we're going to go ahead and loosen this up first. This is going to be that 24mm. So then after that, you're going to use the same 24mm to undo your drain plug down here. What you can do is actually just kind of lightly thread this in, because you can control the flow of your oil coming out. Control the flow. This has got a magnet on it, and you can see any type of gear shavings or anything like that and how the diff is actually doing here in the back. So you want to clean that off really well. Alright, now we're going to let this thing drain for about 10 minutes just to make sure everything's out. Okay, so once you get done, about 10 minutes of it just kind of leaking out, it's down to little tiny driblets. I guess the longer the better. We're gonna go ahead and add one of our couple new washers here, the 12157-10010 piece. Make sure that this is all nice and clean at the bottom. In here, and we'll start threading this tight. Alright, I got that by hand. I'm just going to kind of clean it up a little bit. The torque settings for this fitment down below is going to be 36 foot-pounds. Alright, 36 foot-pounds, and we're there. Okay, now we're going to, we've already got our hand pump set up here, so we'll run this line through the filler plug and check hole. Run that down there. Per the specifications, this is going to be 3.8 quarts. So we know we're going to be doing this. We're going to be dumping this in here for a little bit.
Okay, so now that we have the rear diff done, what we're going to do is we're going to drive around the block, just go a few miles, kind of loosen up that fluid a little bit. We are going to switch it over to 4 high and then very little in 4 low. Now you have to keep in mind, if you're not around any type of dirt, it's preferably done off-road in a dirt setting. Be very, very careful switching over to 4-wheel drive and 4 low if you are on cement. You know, your traction, your gearing, it needs to have a little bit of slip, and that cement doesn't allow that. I'm basically just doing this to loosen up the oil in the front diff and in the transfer case. So I'm gonna be really cautious, go really slow. just kind of move that oil around a little bit before we start draining. So we're gonna go ahead and do that right now, and then we'll get set up for the front. Okay, so if you're like me and you have an RCI front skid plate, it does come into play. I made a little makeshift draining system. We're gonna see if it works. I'll show it to you here. It's basically just taking a small dustpan like so and cutting a hole to allow that oil to drain and kind of propping that underneath that oil. So I don't know if it's gonna work, but we're gonna test it out. All right, so we're looking at the front diff right now. Okay, so you have two spots that you need to get access to. One of them is gonna be right here. This is your drain. So this is where that 10mm hex is gonna come into play. And then up here, you're gonna have your fill and your check. Just like the rear differential, you're gonna wanna do this first so that you know that you have access to refill the fluid in your front diff. So let's go ahead and get those loose right now. All right, so we got the check and the fill for the top. I'm just gonna lightly put that back in there. And for this one, hopefully you can see this here. Once I kind of break this loose, I'm gonna set up that little makeshift. I'm gonna set up that little makeshift device. All right, so like I said, what I did is I'm taking a household dustpan where I cut a hole in it. This little device is working actually pretty well. So again, we're gonna check this end here and just kind of clean up this magnet side. You know, you're gonna have a little bit of shavings on there. All right, so just like before, I want to try to keep this draining for, I don't know, about 10 minutes or so. Then we'll change out those washers, and we'll get things reinstalled and filled back up. Okay, so now that we got that taken care of, we're gonna install the new washers on here. All right, we'll secure the drain plug here, and this is gonna be torqued down to 29 foot-pounds. All right, now let's grab the oil. All right, so now we're gonna feed this back up in here, and this is gonna be, this will be 2.2 quarts. So we are using fully synthetic. We used a different brand for the rear than the front diff and the transfer case, but it is still, you know, the 75 W-90 gear oil fully synthetic. And there we go. Starting to see it drip down here. I'm gonna put this aside. New washer is on. So again, this is going to be down to 29 foot-pounds. So we'll hand tight that. All right. And the front differential is now done. Okay, so moving on to the transfer case here. You can see we have our check and fill and our drain plug here. So what we're going to have to do is remove this plate in order to not get a whole bunch of fluid drained up in here. So this is a 12mm. Okay, so once again, this is going to be your drain, and this is your check and fill. It's 1.2 quarts, but in order to get these out, you're actually going to use your 3/8 drive ratchet. So we'll just go in. So again, we're going to start with the fill and check plug just to make sure that we're able to loosen this up properly and fill it up before we actually drain all the oil out. Okay, we'll let that sit for approximately 10 minutes. This has been drained for about 10 minutes, and we're going to take the drain plug, we're going to put it back in there, and this is going to go to 26 foot-pounds of torque, so not that much at all. Alright, so now let's grab our oil and we'll start filling it up. This is going to be 1.2 quarts in the transfer case. And again, this gets only torqued down to 26 foot-pounds. Okay. And that's it. Front, rear, diff, and transfer case complete. Okay, the final step is going to be getting this this plate back up here. We'll go ahead and secure that, and then we'll be done. All right, that's it. Job is complete. Don't forget to subscribe.